You get underneath the engine, you'd always carry charcoal in your pocket so you could wipe some on your face, and you could keep warm down there by the muffler, and you was close enough to the pump operator you could hear what was going on so you could enter discussion afterwards, and there was all kinds of stuff like that. You know, it's funny because, like I say, every department's got them.
On the high on the fire.
Cummins had a couple real good ones when I was there. I mean, they
So-
actually found this one guy hiding behind a tree. He was a lieutenant on the company, and he was behind the tree while they was fighting the fire.
Interesting.
That's hard for you and I to think of, isn't it?
Can't imagine. So, I think it was Chief Bohr was talking about that, and talking about back in the day. He was 77. I think he came on 78, just after you had left. Talking about how some guys were firefighters and then other ones were just on the fire company.
I've always said, you talk about people doing, the quote volunteer, but they're not actually volunteers for getting $1 an hour instead of $1 a year. You can right to it. But they always talk about community pride and all this stuff to be on the fire department. You have to love it or you shouldn't be there. I mean, how many dummies go into a building when everybody else is coming out?
So what's that mean to you? Because we also talk about not a lot has changed for everything that's changed. What does it mean to be a fireman to you?
I don't know, it's something I always wanted to be in. And I hate to say it myself, but I was darn good at it. And I loved it. Never complained about going to work one day until after my suspension.
And
Which was 2 weeks, and I went back to Muirfield. They created a job for me at Muirfield.
what does people wanting to get into the fire service, what do you think they need to embody?
Well, I said something that upset some of the others once. I said, a good football player or hockey or any contact sport makes good firefighters because they don't mind getting right in the middle of it and doing it. I mean, you have to be a little nuts to do it. And I always said, I'd hate to be a brush firefighter. You can't lay on your belly and fight that. That's all work, fighting those brush fires. I mean, just a little acre grass fire wore you out.
Yep, I've been on those.
I always made sure I grabbed a broom so I didn't have to carry that Indian pump.
What was it like? So, what were you? Two of the other things that I want to talk about next year, the sub stories. One for Thanksgiving. I want to do. Why were you thankful to be exposed to the fire service? What did it mean to you?
I don't know. I just fell in love with it. That's all I know. Maybe because I was had used this as a teething ring or something. I don't know. But, I just wanted to do it, and I won't go there.
In December, I want to do something about faith in the fire service. Do you consider yourself a man of faith?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
All you have to do is hold a newborn baby and think that came from 2 cells. And you know there's somebody up there watching over you. Because I had about between 40 and 50 childbirths.
How
Didn't deliver. The mother delivers the baby. You just assist.
How did faith affect you and your job in the fire service?
Well, it's a little bit like the guy in the foxhole. When you get in certain situations, you're hoping he's with you so you can get out of that building. Especially when you fell through a floor or something.
Did you have any close calls?
Yeah.
Do you mind describing them to me?
Well, the most prominent one was at Glick and Harriet. No. Glick and Avery becomes something else there.
Avery Muirfield.
2-story old balloon frame 2-story house there. And they said the guy lived there by himself. Hadn't seen him, so of course we had to search. and the stairway going upstairs was burnt out already. And so it brought a ladder in and laid it on the stairway and sent the two guys upstairs with a line so they could fight. And I turned around and go back out and fell through the floor. And either there was one heck of a fire in the furnace or in the basement, or I fell into the furnace because I was starting to burn. And I hollered in the radio, little, like kind of strong, something I shouldn't have said over the air. And this one guy had been at Vietnam. He came in and he was going to take me out of there if they left my boots, because he jerked me right out of that floor. Nobody else had moved me. And he come in, got around my arms, jerked me up out of there and dragged me outside. And I fell through some other places too, but like the nightclub fire, that's probably, I knew that ceiling was going to come down if we didn't get out of there, fortunately. So a little bit of training experience could save you.
One of the things I always ask all the retirees that I sit with is, we've talked about those times where things went well. Another one that I'm going to do next year is a story of PTSD in the fire service. The military is finally starting to address it, and the fire service is, again, 50 years behind everybody.
I tried to explain that when I was still full-time at Columbus State. I started teaching that with a psychologist out of San Diego that was on an airplane crash. He used his tape because it was very good about emergency. It was all for first responders type people.
Do you remember who that psychologist was?
I can't remember his name
Okay.
now. I sure used it a lot. The worst part was the sound was bad on it, but I still thought it was worthwhile
Sure.
to play for him because it let them know that it is there. We got to start dealing with it, and that was early 80s.
And do you have any runs that stick with you?
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing any of those?
Well, I think the ones I remember I've said something about. Another was an auto accident on Bethel Road. Oh shoot, what was the car? It had the gas tank right in the back. It had so many of them blow
Pinto?
up. Yeah, Pinto. And the driver got out, but the passenger didn't. And that gas tank was right up against the front seats. Of course, it just scorched him on pieces. And we had to get him out of there. Back then, you usually hauled the DOAs because Corner didn't have any way of hauling them. So, in fact, Upper Arlington took him out of there for us because we'd taken the injured. And one of the trustees that always showed up on the scene come up, started looking around. So he got dead. I'm like, yeah, he's right in there. And he started looking. I just pushed him in a little further. I never showed up on the scene again.
Tell him about the lady on the motorcycle.
Oh, this was on the west side, and it was the street they
This
were
when
on.
he was in Columbus.
Yeah, dead end there about where Briggs High School is now, I think. And the street over went through, and he thought he was on that street. And this guy died, and he had some woman on the back end of it with him. And so he put her into a slide, and she slid across the pavement and took the rear end right out of her jeans. And had horrible, strawberries there. And got her belly down, taking her to the hospital. And she says, how am I going to explain this to my husband? More than one incident like that.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
But, I remember going in, dragging the DOA out up at Shawnee Hills. Wishing that this engine would hurry up and get there. That was when I learned, like some of the other chiefs said, never beat your engine in. You can't do anything. And they're wondering why you're not fighting the fire.
Sure.
This guy had been smoking in bed, got the mattress on fire, took it in, stuffed it in the bathtub and tried to put it out. Of course, he never got it out. With the stuffing, went back to bed. Smoke killed him. Didn't have any real fire. Those are easy to fight.
Yeah. And open the windows.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to do is two other segments. One is about Father's Day, and I want to do. I'm going to title it "Growing Up Fire and Living the Dream." Explain to me what, and I'm doing father-son pairings of men who watch their father being, and then what was that like for you? How did that?
I don't know, I just knew how my dad was so dedicated to it, and that kind of got me interested. And then they used to hire me to wash these old rubber fire coats, because they were all stuffed in the back of the apparatus. You didn't have them hanging out and ready to go or anything. You had to get the back apparatus to get the mask out, if you ever used one. The law said you'd have 2 per station, and that's what that was, 2 per station, period, with the self-contained. And they'd get pretty dirty, you know, so they'd have me come out and wash them. I set up a table right inside as you walked in the apparatus bay there at 37 West Bridge. And I remember the sink and wash them and hang them up. I always said, hope we don't get a fire while I'm washing all these when they're wet. But it was just, and watching the thing be built, it had a lot to do with it, supposed to. Just something I liked. The first thing I ever was really good at, so I took to it.
That's awesome. Do you remember? And I asked Sumoff the same thing, and the others. Do you remember ever being afraid for your father in his service? Excited for him, sad for him?
Never was scared for him. But there wasn't any chance whether it was a building collapse or anything that we knew of that happened. Of course, you didn't have news either, instant news back then either. So I don't remember. Do you?
No, I
Just thought it was.
no, I
The one thing-
always thought it was a big deal. My dad was a fireman,
Yeah.
and I don't know as I knew that there was anything other than a volunteer. I didn't know people stayed in the firehouse overnight. I just thought they all ran for cars, and 3 or 4 or 5 cars followed the fire truck down the road.
That's what
And
happened.
then behind that were all the followers.
Yeah.
Used to be a lot of followers.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing to do. They said.
And it seems to me that at times the followers tried to be part of it. And I don't know what the reaction really
Well,
was.
usually when you had somebody that started to be part of it, you recruit him to be a fireman.
Well, yeah, but I don't
Those weren't
know.
always the best kind.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know what the reaction was to that. I don't know whether time to clean up, whether there was that help around anymore or not. Now, say it was gonna be a long fire, there was always volunteers there to feed them,
Yeah.
whether it was the wives or other people. They always seemed to be there to do that time. I'm sure over there at Hilliard at that railroad fire, there was a lot of people over there helping to take care of them.
There was a fire on one of the roads that runs parallel to the freeway now. It was a barn fire down there. And electricity, had shut the electricity off, and the guy had one of those big, I don't know, 1,000-gallon probably tank of milk. He says, anybody wants a drink of milk, we were drinking it by the pitcher full, fresh milk, cold. That's the best I ever had. And then when you go to Plain City on something, the Amish came out of everywhere with food. I've eaten fried chicken at 2 o'clock in the morning that they just fried. And they'd bring the big milk cans that they used to have. They had adapted one with a spigot on it, and it was full of, fresh milk with hot chocolate, made into hot chocolate. They drink that down with a gallon too. But they didn't just bring some sandwiches or something like, now they'll go to McDonald's or Wendy's or somewhere and bring you a sandwich. No, they had all this great food and all kinds of desserts for you. I went over there during the blizzard.
72?
70,
50, oh,
No.
77.
yeah, 77. Because I was at Muirfield at the time. But I went over, because I was running with them, and I went over there. Figured, John Brown and I both went over, because I figured a lot of the guys was getting tired. It was the next day. and slept on old army cots in that old fire station, about froze to death. But they had a table there, and as long as this is wide, full of desserts. That all people had brought in, because they knew we'd take the squad as far as it would go. Then you get into four-wheel drive and take it till it couldn't go any further. Then you pulled the snowmobiles out of the back and took them the rest of the way. And we was going down one road. I was behind Johnny Beach on one, carrying a kid. And I saw this girl looking at us from the second story window, level on, and her eyes are getting real big, and Johnny fortunately saw it and cut the engine, and we go right straight down to pavement. And we're looking right at him on the second floor.
Wow.
And went, like one place we even went and took a prescription. Family couldn't get out of the driveway. It was all drifts, their whole driveway. I don't know what that thing. But you did what you had to do. But boy, did they'd make sure you had food over there. Another bonfire at Plain City, all the hay. I mean, you know how that is. And we was talking. I said, well, if we just had something to move that hay with, lay it out, and we could get it out, and I have to stay here for 2 days. And the Amish would all be standing back. Usually the women were in a semicircle for some reason, standing there watching the Amish all that. Not in your way. And we said, any of you got backhoe or bobcats? 15 minutes later, we had all kinds of equipment there. They were great to be around on the fire. They appreciated what you did, I guess.
I bet. What last subtitle or sub question I have is about moms and wives in the fire service. We're going to possibly, I'm making the push to call Madge, the mother of the fire service, along with Doc Whitaker's wife, because they answered the phone for how many years. Do you think that's an accurate assessment of their service, or if there's anybody else that should?
Oh, I think they're the main ones.
Okay.
I don't remember Mom ever doing much, but my wife used to bring stuff out. Both of them, in fact.
They
bring stuff out to the scene.
The women's auxiliary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it got formed, because of taking stuff out to the fire scene.
So describe.
If you had a working fire,
Okay.
they got together and started bringing. Make sure you had something to drink, mainly water.
So now we have box 15, where it used to be the women's fire auxiliary.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I was, I got exposed to box 15 in Columbus, but basically they had styrofoam containers, and they would go to Wendy's or White Castle or whoever and buy a bunch of sandwiches and bring out to you. It was coffee, soft drinks, pop.
Do you remember the